Buzz Aldrin is best known for being one of the first two humans to walk on the Moon during the Apollo 11 mission in 1969. Along with Neil Armstrong, Aldrin landed on the lunar surface and spent about 2.5 hours outside the spacecraft, conducting experiments and collecting samples of the Moon's surface. Aldrin was also the first person to take a selfie in space, and he played a significant role in the development of space exploration and technology. After leaving NASA, Aldrin became an advocate for human missions to Mars and has been actively involved in the space industry, working on concepts such as reusable spacecraft and space tourism. Interestingly, back in 2009, Buzz talked in an interview about space exploration and said that a new mission into space will reignite the public's interest. However, at the end of the interview, he detailed that there's a monolith on the surface of Phobos and said that we should go and investigate it. He said the following: "Visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours." End quote. The Phobos Monolith is an object that has been proposed to exist on the surface of Phobos, which is one of the 2 small moons of Mars. The idea of a monolith on Phobos gained attention in the 1970s when the moon was first photographed up close by the Viking 1 and 2 spacecraft. The monolith was initially suggested to be a large artificial object, possibly created by an extraterrestrial civilization. However, subsequent high-resolution images and closer observations by more advanced spacecraft have only caused more questions to arise. Today, most scientists believe that the Phobos monolith is simply a natural geological feature, such as a large boulder or a rock formation, that appears unusually smooth and rectangular in shape due to erosion and other processes on the moon's surface. However, without going there and conducting experiments, some are of the belief that the mysterious object was placed there on purpose, noting that nothing in the surrounding area matches the strange object. The Phobos monolith mystery is amplified by the fact that Phobos is completely barren. Whilst Mars has an atmosphere and a weather system, Phobos sits silently in space, with its solitary monolith pointing up towards the heavens. What's more is that Phobos is tiny compared to the grand scale of the universe, making the sight of something so massive atop of a small celestial body even more creepy. The effects of erosion are common for strange discoveries on other planets. Mars itself has been the subject of many strange discoveries, such as the Mars face, the Mars pyramid, and even the levitating spoon. These rock formations are usually a result of our perspective from Earth, as well as millions of years of rock degradation. While interesting to many, Phobos has yet to receive any significant research or space exploration. Optech and the Mars Institute have proposed that the site of the monolith be investigated. This mission is referred to as PRIME, fully known as the Phobos Reconnaissance and International Mars Exploration. The proposed mission would see a lander touchdown on the surface of the lonely moon to take samples of the moon's geology. Currently, the PRIME mission is not set to go ahead, and talks of funding are next to non-existent. In fact, when Aldrin discussed the idea of sending a mission to Phobos, he said the following: "When people find out about that, they are going to say, 'Who put that there?'" End quote.
Cryo volcanoes on Ceres. In the main asteroid belt that sits between Mars and Jupiter lies Ceres, the largest of the asteroids. Ceres, first discovered in 1801 by Giuseppe Piazzi, was originally classified as a planet. This was until other large objects were discovered in the same neighborhood as Ceres. Astrologists at the time realized they were looking at a new type of object in space, so the term asteroid, meaning star-like, was first coined to describe these new objects. In the 1860s, it was widely accepted that these large asteroids had major differences to the planets we know, but a specific definition of planet was never formulated. At the 2006 Pluto debate, it was discussed the specific criteria that had to be met in order for an object to be considered a planet. Had it not been for a modification to this criteria stating the planet must have cleared the neighborhood around its orbit, Ceres would today be the 5th planet from the Sun. Obviously, due to the asteroid belt it lies within, Ceres is not classified as a planet but a dwarf planet and an asteroid simultaneously. Now, whilst the controversy surrounding Ceres' classification is certainly interesting, that's not what we're going to discuss today. Ceres itself is home to something much more fascinating. Since early 2015, NASA's Dawn spacecraft has orbited the icy world of Ceres, examining its surface closely. It wasn't until quite a few months had passed that the Dawn would observe something so fascinating but so bizarre at the same time. It was a 13,000-foot tall mound closely resembling what we know as a volcano. Scientists named it Ahuna Mons. In 2016, it was confirmed that Ahuna Mons was indeed a volcano, but not your average volcano, a cryovolcano. A cryovolcano is, as you can imagine, a volcano, but with a twist. Instead of releasing molten rock or lava like the volcanoes we have on Earth, a cryovolcano erupts water, methane, or ammonia. The water and other gases released often turn into a solid form once exposed to the low temperature surrounding the volcano, hence the more colloquial name ice volcanoes. These eruptions are referred to as cryomagma or cryolava. During eruption, they are liquid but are also released as a vapor. Cryovolcanoes are thought to be able to form on moons and asteroids that used to have an abundance of water. The reason Ahuna Mons erupts water and other substances rather than magma is simple. The temperatures on Ceres are simply too cold to melt rock, but warm enough that ice can melt. Ahuna Mons was only able to be understood more when scientists examined mineral salt, likely the product of a cryovolcanic eruption, inside the Okator crater found it had origins in Ahuna Mons, which in turn relates both fascinating natural structures. The Okator crater is 57 miles across and as deep as Ahuna Mons is high. The large impact that tore the giant Okator crater into the surface of the dwarf planet must have originally started everything and triggered the later cryovolcanic activity, says Andreas Nathus, framing camera lead investigator for Max Planck. After this event, rock around the planet reshuffled and moved up towards the surface. The change in pressure allowed water and dissolved gases to escape that would eventually form a volcano. It's also suggested that many smaller explosions around the dwarf planet caused the cryovolcanism rather than one major event. Cryovolcanism isn't exclusive to Ceres though, as it has been spotted on Enceladus, one of Saturn's moons, Europa, a moon of Jupiter, and Triton, Neptune's largest moon. Cryovolcanoes are a fascinating insight into the wonders of the universe and things we couldn't even imagine being possible. Space tourism company to launch commercial flights to the stratosphere by 2024. Travelling to space, a concept that, until recently, was nothing more than a wishful fantasy straight out of a sci-fi novel or TV show. Well, now Worldview Enterprises has entered the scene, and they are planning on revolutionizing the spaceflight industry to make space flights accessible to a wider range of people. Worldview Enterprises was established 10 years ago in Arizona and is now offering a journey into space by using rocketless balloons that will travel straight up into the stratosphere. A far cry from Bezos's Blue Origin flight, the Worldview Enterprises experience will be an interesting endeavor to be sure. The balloons will lift Voyagers 18 miles into the air. This is nowhere near as deep into space as the company's competitors offer. True space is said to begin at the Kármán line, 100 kilometers into space, though others argue it begins at 50 miles up. Blue Origin's flight can get you just above the Kármán line at 106 kilometers. The peak of the Worldview Enterprises flight might disappoint, but they are confident in their rocketless aviation, claiming it will be worth the once-in-a-lifetime experience. Clients will be able to witness the Earth's curve for the first time with their own eyes, as well as see the true darkness of space. CEO Ryan Hartman stated, "We're redefining space tourism. Lamentably, the tickets start at $50,000, hardly a cheap venture for those curious about participating in the journeys. The flights are said to be between 6 and 8 hours in length. Some journeys might last several days. The balloons are more accurately capsules that can hold up to 8 people at a time. The company is planning on operating 100 flights annually over various historically or culturally important landmarks that will supposedly last 5 days. Some such destinations include the Great Barrier Reef, the Giza Pyramids, and the wonders of the world, and the journeys are allegedly going to be smooth and gentle. Worldview Enterprises argue that, unlike Blue Origin flights, which use rocket power and suffer G-force, Their balloon alternatives will allow people of all sizes and ages to traverse space. When asked about whether the Worldview Enterprise space travel is a joyride, CEO Ryan Hartman refuted it, saying it's much bigger and more important than most people realize. Hartman claimed he wishes to turn space travel into a commodity for all sorts of people from all walks of life, for families, for couples, for cosmos-loving individuals. Hartman believes that space is the future of the travel industry. The very first flight has already been entirely sold out by Space for Humanity, a non-profit organization that is offering the purchased tickets to anyone who wishes to participate but is unable to afford the relatively expensive tickets themselves. The first flight will begin in Arizona, near to the Grand Canyon. However, the company are hopeful that they might be able to add other landmarks to that list soon after they can prove how the world should invest in their idea.
NASA has just announced that a huge asteroid will come within just 100,000 miles of Earth, which is twice as close as the Moon. The object is estimated to be over 300 feet in length. The United States Space Agency's Asteroid Watch team said the following: "Astronomers with the International Asteroid Warning Network are using this approach to learn as much as possible about this asteroid in a short time period. It's good practice for planetary defense in the future if a potential asteroid threat were ever discovered." End quote. NASA has a program in place called the Near-Earth Object Observations Program, which is designed to detect, track, and characterize asteroids and comets that come within a certain distance of Earth. The program includes a network of ground-based telescopes and also employs spacecraft to observe and study near-Earth objects. One of the key goals of the Near-Earth Object Observations Program is to identify any objects that may pose a threat of impact to Earth. If an object is detected that has the potential to collide with Earth, NASA will first work to refine the object's orbit to better understand its trajectory and predict where it might impact. NASA will then evaluate potential mitigation strategies, such as deflecting the object off its trajectory or disrupting it using a kinetic impactor. NASA also collaborates with other national and international organizations to detect and track near-Earth objects. For example, the agency works with the European Space Agency to operate the Space Situational Awareness Program, which includes the segment dedicated to monitoring these objects. Overall, NASA's efforts to detect and study near-Earth objects help to protect Earth by providing an advanced warning of potential impacts and informing strategies for mitigating the risk of collision. However, every year, NASA misses various asteroids of all sizes, with one of the most recent ones being in November 2021, when a large asteroid barely missed Earth, with the Planetary Defense Team saying that no one knew it was coming. Although a 300-foot asteroid doesn't sound like much, its impact could be devastating. The effects of a 300-foot asteroid impacting Earth would depend on several factors, such as the composition and speed of the asteroid, as well as the location of impact. However, generally speaking, such an impact could cause significant damage and potentially loss of life. If the asteroid were composed of a relatively dense material like iron, it could have a high kinetic energy upon impact, resulting in an explosion-like effect. This could cause a large crater to form and eject material into the atmosphere, potentially causing wildfires and other forms of damage. If the impact occurred over an ocean, it could cause a tsunami, which could devastate coastal areas. In addition to the immediate effects, an impact of this size could also have longer-term consequences. The material ejected into the atmosphere could block sunlight and cause a cooling effect, potentially leading to crop failures and other disruptions to ecosystems. Furthermore, the impact could release large amounts of dust and debris into the atmosphere, which could remain there for years and affect global climate patterns.
Astronomers describe a rare black widow star system. A new study describes a unique astronomical object called the Black Widow pulsar. The star system named J06102100 is about 10,000 light-years from Earth. It was discovered in 2003 after scientists noticed periodic pulsing in the area. Scientists decided the system was a pulsar. A pulsar is a collapsed, highly magnetized star that rotates very quickly. They shoot out electromagnetic blasts out of their poles. So, if their pole is facing the Earth, we can see the light in space, but it quickly goes away as the star spins. For example, J06102100 flickers every 3.8 milliseconds as it turns around. The object was named after the black widow spider that famously eats other spiders of a smaller size. The black widow pulsar is made up of two stars, one larger and one smaller. The larger of the two is slowly devouring the smaller star by pulling most of the surrounding matter into space. In addition to removing any matter from its vicinity, the larger star hits the smaller star with consistent energy discharges. On J06102100, these pulses have been happening over the last 100 or even thousands of years. These hits of energy push much of the remaining star matter into space. Since the star could devour its smaller counterpart at some point, scientists want to study this system before it goes away. Emma van der Wateren, a doctorate student at the Netherlands Institute for Radio Astronomy, studied the Black Widow pulsar for years and analysed 16 years of data from a radio telescope to discover more about the pulsar. She and her team found some unique and interesting things about this specific star system. First, this system has never shown any changes in timing. It was consistent and steady throughout the past 16 years. Typically, Black Widow pulsars are irregular and temperamental, which is why this finding is so important to astronomers. Second, the star system does not have a radio eclipse, which is found in most other Black Widow pulsars. A radio eclipse happens when radio emissions stop during a specific part of the star's orbit path around each other. Van der Wateren explains, this occurs when the companion star moves close to the front of the pulsar, and all this irradiated material coming off of the companion eclipses the pulse emission from the pulsar. While the radio eclipse is still stumping scientists, the steady timing has a clear and helpful purpose. Van der Wateren says, to detect gravitational waves, you need many, many very stable pulsars, and unlike earlier Black Widow pulsars that have been discovered, this system is very stable. Scientists believe that if they analyze the consistent energy pulses of the larger star, they might be able to detect gravitational waves, which are uncommon ripples in the fabric of space-time. Gravitational waves, theorized by Albert Einstein, appear when massive universal objects collide. The waves from the collision move through space and time at light speed and warp the fabric of the universe as they ripple past. Pluto has giant ice volcanoes that could hint at the possibility of life. As it turns out, secrets have been hiding on the dwarf planet Pluto's surface all this time. According to astronomers, giant ice volcanoes have recently erupted with icy sludge. This area on Pluto is completely unique compared to what astronomers have seen in our solar system. This new discovery was made possible with NASA's New Horizons spacecraft, which captured photos of Pluto's moons and surface in 2015. These images were used to observe Pluto more closely than before and led to the discovery of two prominent peaks that were thought to be icy volcanoes. This speculation was further proved by clues of erupted ice lava found in the images. While we tend to associate volcano eruptions with hot lava, ice volcanoes or cryovolcanoes erupt with water ice mixed with other substances such as methane or ammonia. For years, astronomers have been searching for evidence of these cryovolcanoes on other solar objects like the dwarf planet Ceres and Saturn's moon Titan. As Pluto has been long suspected of having cryovolcanoes due to it resting on the frigid edge of the solar system's Kuiper belt, these photos provide more evidence for their existence on the dwarf planet. The eruptions of slush are also expected to keep their shape due to the average temperature of Pluto sitting at minus 387 degrees Fahrenheit. According to the author of the study, Kelsey Singer, the icy material was probably more like the texture of toothpaste when it first erupted out of the ice volcanoes, but due to the extreme temperatures on Pluto, the liquid water quickly formed massive domes found on the region. Due to the lack of impact craters in the area around the cryovolcanoes that are usually seen on Pluto's surface, it is suggested that the ice volcanoes were active about 100 to 200 million years ago, a relatively short time in the grand scheme of things. This recent activity indicates to astronomers that the volcanoes may erupt again just as volcanoes on Earth switched from dormancy to activity.
Astronomers know that Pluto once had a subsurface ocean, and the discovery of these ice volcanoes points to the possibility that they may still be present. This possibility of a liquid ocean existing on Pluto increases the once 0% possibility of existing life on Pluto to a slim chance. As Singer points out, there are still a lot of challenges for any organisms trying to survive there. They would still need some source of continual nutrients, and if the volcanism is episodic and thus the heat and water availability is variable, that is sometimes tough for organisms as well. Despite the challenges, this slim chance has been a giant leap in the knowledge of what we previously believed about Pluto. But what do you make of these recent discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.